taking a drink of my lovely custom shop mug. You can go buy one on our website right now. What's happening, everyone? Well, we've got, it's NAMM week, and we are not in California. And if you saw our video from a couple weeks ago, we said why we're not going to the NAMM show, so you can find that down in the links below. Maybe we'll even do one of those fancy things where it pops up while we're talking.
Yeah.
That takes some research.
Some editing magic.
Editing magic. But one thing we're talking about, it's kind of the exciting part of the NAMM show, and then maybe the fatigue of new gear releases. So this is something, again, we always mention that we have these kind of passing conversations in the shop all the time, and we're always saying, oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And so it's NAMM week, and for me, it's a little bit of that, like, I've been getting the emails, are you going to be down there? I want to meet, and I want to hang out, and do whatever. And so that's kind of the bummer part for me, is thinking through, like, oh, I'm not going to be there to meet these people that we work with and all that. So how are you feeling? It's NAMM week. How are you feeling about, like, what's the temperature in your head right now as far as the NAMM, the NAMM show, and like just first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, I think it's different because we went the one time, and then you go one time, and then you're kind of like, oh, now we're just going to go every year, and it's just, you kind of like think that that's going to be the new norm. Little do we know just that everything that was going to happen, and then, you know, it really does take a lot for some of the smaller companies to go, and, you know, but I guess I'm trying to say I'm getting a little bit of fear of missing out kind of stuff. You know, I'm like, man, I wish I was there, and I imagine that for the people that are going, since there's a lot of bigger companies that also are kind of like, oh, we don't necessarily need to be there. And so I heard that like Yamaha's in the top booth, or I think we mentioned that in the last video. Mm-hmm. So it's like everybody that is there, it's kind of like when, you know, you have a weird like half day at school and half the kids aren't there. And you're just like, well, it's weird that not everyone's here, but we're still going to try and have a good time. You know, I hope it goes good for them. But it is unfortunate that we can't go and like, you know, shake hands, and it was really cool putting faces to names the time that we did go. Yeah, definitely. Because that's a big part of it, I think, is kind of being able to actually talk to some of these people, or getting all these music-minded people in the same room, which is quite a difficult task. Yeah.
And so one thing for us, too, if you're going to the NAMM show, you are going this week to the NAMM show, or you're finding this video after the NAMM show, during the NAMM show, let us know in the comments what you think of the show. I know it's going to be quite a bit smaller. We talked about this in our other videos. That's not really our main topic today, but just thinking through this subject of releases and gear release fatigue. I know that I have it. I know that you have it. And it's very different this year. It feels very different. I'm not sure if it's just because like we're going with like the weather this week, you know, it's going from snow today to 80 degrees a couple days ago. Maybe that's why we're feeling weird about it. But I think that you have all these companies that have kind of made a concentrated split away from the NAMM show. Mm-hmm. And so they have their own way of releasing stuff, and there's still the people that are like, oh, you got to come to our booth to find the new product. So you have this weird thing as a guitarist, even in the gear company, as someone who loves buying guitar gear and looking at guitar gear. It's like, oh, well, I could go to the NAMM show and see this thing in person. There's always there's still that excitement left. But then you have the companies that said, we're not going to the NAMM show, and we're still releasing something on NAMM week. So they want to be tied to it, apparently. Mm-hmm. But new stuff is coming out. So I think that I have a little bit of fatigue from just gear being released. And this is funny coming from a gear company, because our job is to release gear that hopefully you buy, and we have paychecks from that. But I think about, just the fatigue of this stuff constantly coming out. So where are you at with all that stuff? I know that we kind of touched on this yesterday, and really we're just turning the camera on to hopefully continue that discussion.
Yeah, and you definitely notice on all of the social media platforms, it's just like, there's just new stuff, there's just pedal boards, there's just a lot going on, and I personally can find myself getting distracted very easily, and I'm like, oh, now I'm going down that wormhole. You know, but it's just kind of like, it's like the time, you know, it kind of almost reminds me of like the Super Bowl, like the NAMM show, and like all of the ad coverage. It's just like everyone wants to be around this massive event that they know that the world, or at least the music world, kind of has their eyes on. Yeah. So, but yeah, it can be a little overwhelming for sure.
Well, I think there's just like this spirit of, and maybe I'm stepping too far out of bounds here, but kind of the spirit of like there's the anti-NAMM crowd, and then there's the, well, we still want to see what NAMM can bring and what it can do. And so that, again, you mentioned that confusion thing. I feel like when you want this new pedal, say there's a new pedal that comes out, and you have a pedal company release a massive amount of videos, and they've got like a cinematic video for their product launch, and it's available in all the stores. Really amazing, coordinated. We talked about that with the Walrus pedal fundamental line a little ways back, where it got leaked too early, but that was a planned release that kind of had to be replanned, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And some of it is that for us as a company, nothing really works that way in terms of our releases and the way we do products, and so I think maybe that's where some of the fatigue comes through, is like, man, I don't have the cloud or whatever you want to say to make a release like that. And so I get kind of overwhelmed with, same with you. It's like, how many, you see the pedal, it looks cool, and how many demos do you really want to watch to know if you like it or not, and especially if the launch video from the company doesn't really tick any boxes for you, you're like, okay, do I really need this pedal or not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is overwhelming, because I think you mentioned it really well too, is maybe it's because you're looking at your current rig and you've got some holes in your mind. There's always holes in your rig, right?
Yeah.
But you've got something that's like, I need this now. All of a sudden I need this, and it's gonna have to have an audition spot, and it's funny as guitarists, like we do that, and like we say that we don't do it, and both you and I do it all the time. So it's just an interesting dynamic, and we'd again love to know what you guys think about this whole, I don't know, the gear release stuff and kind of the fatigue of that. Are you bored of the way that people release stuff? Are you wanting something new? Do you like the way that it's released? I mean, I know I'll gravitate maybe to my favorite of the demo guys. Sometimes if it gets released by like 30 YouTube guys, maybe I'll pick 2 or 3 that I really like their style and then go that way.
Yeah.
Do you do the same thing, or do you do it differently?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe less that. I maybe like go more towards like the company itself and see kind of how, like, what, is there any features that are like beneath the surface that I'm not, accessing? Because to me, like, that is how pedals are kind of edging each other out in the market. Is just like, they're easy to use, but there's like another layer to them. Mm-hmm. And even just like a simple 3-knob drive pedal can have a lot of layers to it. Like, it doesn't have to have all these buttons and bells and whistles. But, every time there is like a release, like it's kind of, I'm like, the time when there's nothing you want in the fridge, but you keep opening it. Like, I see a new pedal and I'll go check my account, and I'm like, oh no, I can't do it. And then I'll see another one in like 2 hours.
New pedal funds.
Oh no, okay, I gotta wait. So it's just funny. Feels like the kid like waiting for the ice cream truck too, or something. I'm just like, I know it's gonna come around here soon. What's gonna come around the corner? Yeah. But it's kind of keeps it exciting, and I think it's just that effort to keep inspiring, and it's just that the market is maybe pretty ferocious these days now, and it's like we're all in it together, but it's like you definitely want to sell units, so it's like you got to kind of like stay on the cutting edge with your marketing, with your packaging, with your branding, with there's a lot of different layers on it. That's maybe where also the fatigue kicks in, and you're like, wow, this is a tall order.
Yeah, and sometimes I think for me is kind of like knowing what it probably took to do the release. Like, big company A, B, and C releases a new product, and all the video and media, thousands of dollars spent on this, and obviously they have the benefit of maybe a larger dealer network that has already purchased the stuff, and that's kind of helping fund it. But it's just a giant machine, and sometimes I feel like how does something like our product fit into that giant machine? Because it really doesn't in some ways, because you've got to open up your guitar, you got to take the strings off, you got to perform surgery on the guitar, and that actually inhibits you from just enjoying it quickly. Does that make sense? Like we're not like, our pickups are not like an Amazon style product where the guy drops it off at your door and you plug it in and you see what you think right away. And so that does create some layers to it. But I think in general, just been curious to see what people's thoughts are. Are you tired of the way the gear industry does releases now. Obviously, we've been forced to do a lot of stuff online. We've been forced to kind of like go that way. And again, so many people are just abandoning trade shows, and for many good reasons. I would agree with a lot of these companies. They don't really need to go to NAMM. And I think we're kind of like on that fence of NAMM where it's like, it'd be nice to be there. How do we know the return's going to justify the being there? But you don't know till you're there. So you're like fighting this kind of the war in your head, I guess. There's a lot of me that's excited about not being there. And then there's other parts like, again, just, man, it would be really fun to meet these people that we work with. There's a handful of companies that use our pickups that are going to be at the NAMM show. And so that's just something to think about, as we look at future NAMM shows and yeah, this whole release thing. Any final thoughts as we close?
Just hope it's a good week for everybody and you don't get too fatigued with the releases, or if you do,
or you don't get sick at the NAMM show.
You don't get sick at the NAMM show.
Yep.
I hope that your wish list doesn't get so massive that you have to overwork yourself this year, and I hope it's good. So that's my closing notes.
Excellent. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do that here and get the ring the bell, ding the bell, whatever that is. Make sure you're getting notifications for new videos because, again, we've got a lot more stuff coming at you. Thanks so much.
See you guys.